dignitaries on the dais and dear friends, I at the outset would like to mention that there is a growing urge on the part of the students to learn. They want to go to a college, learn something and become something. That is indicated by two things. Number one, the enrollment is increasing. Why would they come to college if they are not interested in education? So the enrollment is increasing. Number two, they are sitting in the libraries. Maybe they are preparing for a competitive exam. They are sitting in the libraries, reading very seriously, and we must appreciate their efforts. But the problem is that we are unable to provide the required conditions for the development of these students. That is the contradiction in the present educational system. There is a desire on the part of the students to learn, but there is an inability on the part of the institutions, government and as well as the university, to provide the required inputs, to provide the required atmosphere. I am not blaming that the universities are doing it deliberately. I am not even blaming the government for that moment. All I am saying is that if you really want to transform this country, you have to educate your students, people, the youngsters, boys and girls. They have to be sent to the colleges. They must learn. That is the only way to transform this country and the easiest way to transform this country. In an iniquitous society in which we are living, we must try to make all efforts to transform this situation, bring about equality in this society. One of the best ways to do that is to provide education. So you provide them education, quality education, and the required conditions to provide quality education is not the responsibility of the student alone. He has to, of course, with whatever facilities made available, he must make use. But that apart, the government must also create appropriate conditions. They must recruit teachers to begin with. You can't run a college with contract teachers and part-time teachers. In order to avoid legal complications, we may invent new names also. The government may invent new names like, guest faculty. So avoid that and recruit regular teachers and fill up the vacancies. This is a problem that we have inherited from the previous governments. It's not something that only you can't blame the present government alone. From previous systems have been responsible for creating this crisis. I do remember very vividly the ABLE committee, 1985-86. ABLE committee was appointed by N.T. Ramarao. At that time, there were growing demands to set up degree colleges in every town. And ABLE committee said, we can't do that. The government cannot afford to spend so much money on higher education. Therefore, ABLE committee said, those with merit will go to a government college. Those who do not have merit and also if they do not have money, they will go to open university. And those with money will go to a private institution. So the government has shifted the responsibility and gave it to the private institutions. So private institutions started growing. Before that, the degree college lecturers to all these private institutions were supplied by the government institution. All the coaching centers had to enroll teachers from the public institutions in order to survive, in order to impart skills to the students. So they have done it deliberately. They said, no private public institutions, we can't invest, we can't spend money. And when Chandrababu took over, he said, there can't be, the government cannot afford to spend any money on collegiate education. And World Bank provided the necessary arguments. When World Bank came to India, and more particularly to Andhra Pradesh, they started arguing, provided loan to the extent of 2,500 crores or so. So at that time we all criticized, the conditions were accepted. We criticized the World Bank. And World Bank, the state government's finance secretary made it very clear, the loan is not very significant. we want the conditions and some agency to monitor the implementation of conditions. So conditionality is what we want. And one of the conditions is that primary education is a, what do they call it, a utility good. The higher education is a luxury good. So we will not spend on higher education, we will spend on primary education. Until then the government was giving us block grant. Then they started calculating how much you generate internally, and after deducting that, the rest of the amount required for salaries and pensions is provided by the government. So that's how they started deducting reducing the block grant to all the universities. This was a major problem. We were writing on the blackboards. You remember that when we entered into the service, the blackboards were available. The glassboards have not yet come to the classroom. And on the blackboard, you know how difficult it used to be to write on these blackboards. We used to write yet, and we used to teach. That was the only kind of an audio-visual method we knew, and we used it in order to teach. But after that, the self-finance courses were introduced. Foreign students started taking admission. The university was able to generate some funds to strengthen the library and to strengthen the classroom teaching facilities. But those facilities eventually, could not be continued. For a very simple reason, government said if you are saving some money for investment in facilities, obviously you should not do that. You should cut that expenditure and use it to pay the salaries. So they wanted rest of the amount for infrastructural facilities, and they do not want the university to do that. University will use its internal resources to pay the salaries and nothing more and nothing less. So universities have lost their, dried up their resources. They could not improve the quality in the university teaching. All those things were significantly, happening within the university. There is a growing need to improve the teaching skills. We were all prepared to do that, but the facilities were not available within the classroom. And then, of course, at that time another committee also was established in order to understand the situation in the university, and that committee was the Amrik Singh Committee. Amrik Singh Committee said the internal organizational structures are not properly working and therefore they need to be reformed. సో మీకు పేపర్లు ఇస్తున్నాం, మీరు సరిగ్గా దిద్దట్లేదు, మార్కులు ఎక్కువ వేసి పిల్లల్ని పాస్ చేస్తున్నారు, మీ దగ్గర ఎవరు మానిటరింగ్ చేసేవాళ్ళు లేరు. ఇవన్నీ సరి చేసుకుంటే యూనివర్సిటీస్ బాగుపడతాయి. ది ఎక్స్టర్నల్ కండిషన్స్ వర్ నాట్ టేకెన్ ఇంటూ కన్సిడరేషన్ ఎట్ ఆల్. Like the lack of finances, that was not taken into consideration, and the focus was entirely on the internal organizational structure. They blamed the universities for not running the universities properly, and for all these defective organizational structures were shown as the impediments for the growth of the university. So this was the understanding that we have not given up. We have not given up, and currently everyone tells us you have to update your syllabus, you have to introduce new curriculum, you have to provide job oriented education. So it is not all courses can be job oriented. Political science, whatever you may say that you can't make it job oriented. At best I can teach them perhaps statistical methods. And those statistical methods can perhaps be used in order to understand election trends, in order to understand market trends. But beyond that, you can't. Maybe, you train them in mass communication. So beyond that, not all courses can have this kind of a market-oriented subjective content. That is the basic problem. And beyond that, no one was trying to understand the situation in the universities. In the meantime, the WTO agreements were made, and according to the agreements, all private universities from foreign countries must be allowed to run their branches in India and without any restriction. So that's how private institutions started growing. In spite of all this transformation, as far as Telangana is concerned, the private universities have not come up. They have not come up till the KCR's tenure. It's only during his tenure that these private institutions came. Not until then. Now, initially when this private universities bill was introduced, Kadiyam Srihari blocked it. He tried his best to stop this blockade. He said, how can I support these universities where there are no reservations? That was his contention, and based on that understanding, he tried to stop the private universities bill. Subsequently, it was introduced, and it was introduced so suddenly that we had no time at least to initiate a discussion on the bill. That's how private universities were initiated. Now the thing is that we had privatization only at the collegiate level. 85%, 86% of the colleges are in the private sector. Only 14% of the colleges are in the public sector. And these 85%, there are a lot of colleges with less than 100 enrollment. So this is, the situation as far as the private colleges are concerned. And in those colleges, many people find it difficult to take admission and study in the private colleges. Fee reimbursement is not working at all. It is not paid on time, so the colleges are insisting that the students must pay the fee, and it would be reimbursed whenever the government releases the amount. So they are forced to pay, and often, after completion, students don't take back their certificates. They wait, till the fee reimbursement process is completed. So this creates a problem. Therefore, the fundamental crisis is that you have students from most of them are first generation learners. And first generation learners from SC, BC, ST communities, from very poor backgrounds, and they are the ones who need education more than anyone else. However, that education is not made available because of the government policies. Fee structure has been completely changed. Every institution is privatized. The government institutions are not able to deliver the results, deliver the goods. So that is the crisis that we now see in Telangana state. Somehow the public institutions have to be improved. We have the best enrollment ratio, no doubt about it. Whereas in the entire country, the enrollment ratio is 28. Only 28 students out of 100 go to colleges. In our state, it is 40. So 12 people, more than 12 people go to college out of every 100 boys and girls of 18 to 23 age group. So that is the situation as far as the higher education is concerned, and this crisis needs to be addressed. We need to have more and more government institutions, and colleges have to be, all vacancies in the teaching post must be filled up. All vacancies have to be filled up. All, the research activity has to be revived. Funds must be improved. This, I think, is a basic requirement. And there are, wherever you go, you find a demand, a struggle for a new government college. Vikarabad, there is no government college since independence. In places like, Zahirabad, you hardly find a government institution. Places like Kamareddy, between Kamareddy and Tufran, there are no private government colleges at all. So there are many places which require a government college. They require a good hostel facility. They require good teaching facilities. All that people are willing to use. Now remember, those who are going to the residential schools, they are able to acquire, they improve their skills. And if that can happen in a residential college, perhaps we can do the same thing in a government college. All that you need is, the same kind, similar facility. Residential facilities, we must also have more teachers. We must also have proper monitoring, proper guidance to the students. That there, if you are willing to spend time. Say for example, Nagarjuna Sagar Residential College has produced some of the best students. And they go to Central University. They provide students to the Central University. Nizam College at one time was one of the best institutions. But today, Arts College at one time was one of the best institutions. Today what happens is that we have neglected them. There is no recruitment. All teaching vacancies are pending and government has not taken any measure. So that is a very serious crisis as far as these institutions are concerned. And that's one of the reasons why we are not able to develop the syllabus. That syllabus we are not able to improve. And sometimes, there are impediments from within. Because some teachers feel that, they have learned something and therefore they do not allow the changes in the syllabi to take place. Chala kashtam, koట్లాడాలి, రోజు కొట్లాడనే ఉంటది. రోజు కొట్లాడితే తప్ప సిలబస్ మార్పు అనేది జరగదు. అట్లా జరిగిన తర్వాత the next very serious major problem is that you need teachers who can impart this. You can't keep the syllabus in the same framework cannot be completed. We need to change it every now and then so that it becomes relevant. You can update it. But that is not so easy because at the degree level you are not providing the necessary library facilities so that they would be able to handle the new syllabi. They would be able to acquire the latest information on the subject. All these problems are there. That is, therefore, the same rote method is continued even at the degree level. Now that we have another problem. At the graduation level, because of the residential schools, some students get good education, only 3 to 4%. The rest of the students, they do not acquire the required skills. The studies have established a third class student cannot read a single line. A fifth class student cannot do the maths of a third class standard. So these are all the problems, and those students come to the classrooms, and it becomes even more difficult at that level. So these are some of the problems that we face, but we need to, at our level, we need to prepare syllabi in such a way that we can address the needs of a first generation learner. That is our responsibility. But we cannot do this unless and until all the vacancies are filled up. Unless and until the government provides us with the required funds. Unless and until we also get the necessary audio-visual inputs. So without that also we can handle the classroom. But provided there are adequate number of teachers. There are adequate number of books in the classroom. Provided, we also make this equally relevant for even a competitive examination. These are, the problems of a teacher. How a teacher handles this problem is his responsibility, or, the team itself has to work on these issues. But as far as the other issues are concerned, the government has to play a very active role. This is what we need to do, and this seminar plays a very significant role because it provides the inputs. Not that the government immediately responds, but at least the present government is willing to discuss on these issues. They are planning to appoint a commission to think of the educational reforms. So therefore, what we need to do is to prepare these inputs and give them to such commissions, give them to officers, so that a healthy discussion can be initiated. చాలా స్పష్టంగా నేను చెప్పదలుచుకుంది ఏంటంటే పిల్లలకు చదువుకోవాలని ఉంది, చదువు అందించేటువంటి స్థాయిలో విద్యా వ్యవస్థలు అనేవి ఎదగటం లేదు. ఇది పూర్తిగా టీచర్ సమస్య అని కూడా నేనేమి అనుకోవటం లేదు. చాలా వరకు అంతర్గత నిర్మాణాలే సమస్యాత్మకంగా మారాయని చెప్పేవాళ్ళు లేకపోలేదు. కానీ అది సంపూర్ణంగా వాస్తవం కాదు. అంతర్గత నిర్మాణాలు ఎంత కీలకమైనప్పటికీ కూడా అవి పనిచేయటానికి కావలసిన వాతావరణ కల్పన కూడా చాలా కీలకం అవుతుంది. అక్కడనే ప్రభుత్వం కావలసిన నిధులను, కావలసిన సిబ్బందిని ఇవ్వగలిగితే మిగతా వాటిని మనం అంతర్గతంగా సమకూర్చుకోవటానికి ఒక అవకాశం ఉంటుంది. ఇది నా దృష్టిలో ప్రాథమికమైన వైరుధ్యం. మిగతావన్నీ ఉండొచ్చు, వాటన్నింటినీ నా దృష్టిలో ఈ ప్రాథమిక వైరుధ్యం పరిష్కారం అయితే చదువుకోవాలన్న తాపత్రయానికి, సౌకర్యాలు కల్పించవలసిన అవసరానికి మధ్యన ఉన్నటువంటి ఘర్షణను పరిష్కరించగలిగితే మిగతావన్నింటినీ కూడా నా దృష్టిలో సమస్యను పరిష్కరించుకోవటం కష్టమైన విషయమేం కాదు. ఈ పరిమిత వనరులతో రీసెర్చ్ చేయలేదా? కాకతీయ యూనివర్సిటీలో చేసిన చాలా రీసెర్చ్ అంతర్జాతీయ స్థాయిలో గుర్తింపు సాధించలేదా? చాలా మంచి వర్క్ జరిగింది కదా, చాలా సీరియస్గానే రీసెర్చ్ వర్క్ జరిగింది కదా. ఇవన్నీ చేయలేదంటానికి కూడా ఆస్కారం లేదు కదా. ఆ రకమైన విద్యార్థులకు కూడా వాళ్ళ స్థాయిలో మనం చదువు చెప్పగలిగినామా లేదా? చెప్పగలిగినాం కదా. కానీ వాళ్ళ సమస్య ఏంటంటే టీచరే లేకపోతే ఎట్లా, మౌలిక వస్తువులు కూడా లేకపోతే ఎట్లా, లైబ్రరీ గురించి కూడా పట్టించుకోకపోతే ఎట్లా? ఆ ఆలోచన మార్పు ఎప్పుడు సాధ్యమవుతుంది అని అంటే ఈ విద్యా వ్యవస్థ అవసరం, ఈ పెట్టుబడి ఉన్నత విద్యారంగంలో అవసరము అని గుర్తిస్తే ఇది సామాజిక మార్పుకు ప్రాతిపదికగా మారగలుగుతుంది అనుకుంటే అప్పుడు మాత్రమే ఈ ప్రభుత్వము సానుకూలమైనటువంటి విద్యా విధానంతో అవసరమైన నిధులతోని రాగలుగుతుంది. చాలా కీలకం. సమాజం మారాలంటే నువ్వు ఏమేం చేస్తావో మిగతా రంగాల్లో పక్కన పెట్టి అన్నిటికంటే ముఖ్యంగా విద్యారంగంలో తీవ్రమైనటువంటి కృషి చేయాలనేటువంటి వాదన ఒకటి మనం బలంగా తీసుకువెళ్ళటం. అందుకు గాను చేయవలసినవి నంబర్ 1 ఖాళీ పోస్టులు భర్తీ చేయండి, నిధులను విడుదల చేయండి, కనీస మౌలిక సదుపాయాలన్నింటినీ కూడా కల్పించండి. చాలా గొప్ప విషయం ఏంటంటే అమ్మాయిలు చదువుకోవటానికి వస్తున్నారు, చాలా గొప్ప విషయం ఇది. అబ్బాయిల కంటే ఎక్కువ మంది అమ్మాయిలు వస్తున్నారు కాలేజెస్. మరి వాళ్ళందరికీ కూడా చదువు నేర్పడం అంటే ఎప్పుడో రాజశేఖర చరిత్రలో కందుకూరి వీరేశలింగం గారు రాసింది కదా, అమ్మాయి చదువుకుంటే కుటుంబం చదువుకున్నట్టే. కనీసం ఆ ఆలోచనతోనైనా ఆ పెట్టుబడి మనం సీరియస్గా పెట్టకపోతే సమాజ మార్పుకి ఇదే ప్రాతిపదిక, ఇవే కీలకమైన మూల స్తంభాలు కాగలుగుతాయనే విషయాన్ని గుర్తించకపోతే ఎట్లా సాధ్యం అనేది మనం అడగవలసిన మౌలిక ప్రశ్న. దానికోసము మనం చాలానే కృషి చేయవలసి వస్తుంది. సామాజిక మార్పు ఉట్టిగానే వస్తుందని నేను అనుకోవటం లేదు. దానికి ప్రతిబంధకాలు చాలా ఉంటాయి కాబట్టి ఈ మార్పుకు అంత తొందరగా అంగీకరిస్తారని కూడా నేను అనుకోవటం లేదు. చదువుకుంటాం, మనం ప్రైవేట్ స్కూల్కి పోతాం, నెలకు ₹1,00,000 ఫీజు కట్టి చదువుకోగలుగుతాం అనుకునేటువంటి వాళ్ళు విధాన నిర్ణేతలు అయినప్పుడు దీని మీద ఎందుకు పెట్టుబడి పెడతారు? అది ప్రధానమైన సమస్య. ఆ సమస్య పరిష్కారానికి కొంత మనం గట్టిగా నిలబడితే తప్ప సాధ్యం కాదు. టీచర్కి అడిగే నైతిక బలం ఉన్నంతగా పిల్లలకు ఉండదు. మనకు నైతిక బలం ఎక్కువ. ఇది పిల్లలు చదువుకోవాలని అడగటానికి మనకున్నటువంటి అర్హత వేరెవరికి లేదు కాబట్టి ఆ శక్తిని ఉపయోగించుకుందాం. గతంలోనైతే మాట్లాడటానికి కూడా అవకాశాలు లేవు, ఇప్పుడు ఉన్నాయి కదా. ఉన్నప్పుడు మనం ఈ ప్రయత్నం చేయాలని చెప్పి మీ అందరినీ కూడా కోరుతూ నాకు ఈ అవకాశం ఇచ్చినందుకు కృతజ్ఞతలు.